Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. We're going to talk about the importance of choosing which stories get told and which stories do not get told, which stories are made prominent and which stories are buried, right? So let's go ahead and the power of that, the importance of us as dungeon masters initiating stories, maintaining stories, finishing stories, telling them in collaboration with our players and with the dice, right? But the reality is, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I'll tell you the trigger for this. The power of choosing what stories are told prominently, what stories get powerful presentations, and what stories are just shuffled off to the bin and never told, or told in places that don't matter and are really small and unimportant. So let's go ahead and jump into this. All right. So what triggered this topic is the movie The Unforgivable. It's a brand new movie. It's made by Sandra Bullock. It's called The Unforgivable, and it came out in 2021. It just dropped on Netflix. It's a brand new film, okay? And its release was on Netflix. It's not actually a movie. It's just a Netflix streamer movie, right? But it's got Sandra Bullock in it, and she's actually a real movie star, right? Even today, she commands a lot of power in Hollywood, and she's a major player, right? So this is an important film, right? Now, first of all, no spoilers for Unforgivable 2021 are in this content. Second, I also want to talk about, a lot of times I'll talk about a movie and then I'll be like, you got to go watch this. I am in no way saying that you should go watch this. So in my humble opinion, Unforgivable 2021 is an important film, a very unenjoyable film, and not a good film, right? I watched it cover to cover, and I'll tell you why I watched it in a minute, but I'm not suggesting anyone watches this film. So I just wanted to make that clear, because every minute, we live in a zero-sum world, okay? You only have a certain number of days on this planet, and then you are going up or you are going down, all right? And regardless of where, I don't want to waste a minute of your time. I genuinely don't, right? And also, yeah, your time is the actual real currency of life. If you haven't figured that out yet, I'm giving you a J. Scott Garibay wisdom drop, right? Money is nice, but time is more valuable than money. If you haven't figured that out yet, it very much is, right? So just wanted to give you that. So in my opinion, you don't want to give 2 hours of your life to this movie, in my opinion. Okay. Now the reason for that is, we talked about this previously, narrative versus message. This movie does have a good narrative. It's a very interesting film. I think it has a terrible, terrible message, like just abominable message. Not a good message. So that's why I'm saying this is not a good film, and this is certainly not an enjoyable film. You will drag yourself through this thing. All right. So that's but it is an important film. That's why we're talking about it. So let's get into this. All right. So why did I watch this movie? All right. So first of all, I looked at this and I was like, oh my gosh, what's this? All right. So, and I watched the trailer and I'm like, that looks terrible. I don't want to watch, that does not look like a good, fun story. That doesn't look like the kind of story I want to watch. Right. But I proceeded and I watched it. Why? One reason, Sandra Bullock. Okay. I have a lifetime of watching Sandra Bullock movies. Right. And I would say at a rate of 5 to 6. So if I watch 6 movies with Sandra Bullock, I'm going to like 5. And I'm going to very much dislike 1. Okay? And some of her films I've skipped because I'm like, I know I ain't going to like that, right? The Blind Side, I skipped it. I made the mistake of watching 28 Days, right? Not a fun movie. I did not enjoy that, right? So, but let's talk about the ones I did. Sandra Bullock, Miss Congeniality 2, Speed 2, and then The Net, I think it was called The Net. She did another one called The Net. And just a ton of other films. Like, just a lot of films I have really enjoyed. No less than probably 24 Sandra Bullock films that I really, really like. And I think she's a really special, unique talent in America. She's one of the best actresses on the planet, bar none. Like, she's just really good at what she does, right? So, okay. So, I'm like, this is a Sandra Bullock movie. And it's also one of my favorite genres. What's one of my favorite genres? brand new, expensive, and free, right? Like, so this was brand new, right? It's expensive. I know it took. If you got Sandra Bullock in a movie, man, you paid her $5 to $10 million, almost certainly, or a lot more, right? And Netflix is known for that now, right? So it's brand new, it's expensive, and it's free to me, right? Like, I consider my Netflix subscription free. I pay for it, right? But the reason is like, I watch 3 movies a month that, like, and then, that I love on Netflix. And I'm like, oh, if I had those 3 movies alone. But then there's so much. The value on Netflix to me is like 3 to 5 times higher than what I'm paying. I really like Netflix a lot, right? So it was free. So, so I watched this thing. Now, here's the kicker. When I watched this, I was like, what is this, right? And I was like, whoa, man. Like, and then I realized this story was chosen, okay? And the reality is, I'm not going to get Miss Congeniality 3. I'm not going to get Speed 3, right, with Sandra Bullock, because she chose to make this story, right? And she had, and you could tell, like, Sandra Bullock is not auditioning anymore, right? Like, she doesn't go in for auditions, right? There is a talk, and she's like, she looks at hundreds of scripts, or her people do, and she's like, this, and this, right? She is choosing the stories that get told, right? And she used bandwidth that she could have used to make Miss Congeniality 3, to make Speed 3, to make movies I wanted to see. It's a zero-sum world. If you make this story, if you tell this story, we have to understand this as Dungeon Masters. If you tell this story, you are saying this other story that I have is never going to get told, right? And the reason why is you could get hit by, 3 things can happen. You can get hit by a bus. You could win the lottery, right, and decide you're never going to run another tabletop role-playing game in your life, or you could get abducted by aliens, right? Like, and the reality is, so you don't know if you got tomorrow, right? So when you are making decisions, you don't have forever, right? You only have now, right? And when you make a decision to tell the story at your Dungeons & Dragons table, you are initiating what gets played and the stories that are going to get told. And you are a tremendous, important, special creator. And the stories in your mind are precious, right? And you do not have 40, 50 years. You got tomorrow, right? Like, you have today and you have tomorrow if you're lucky, right? And so when you tell a story, you need to understand you are choosing. This story gets told now. It gets told prominently. It's going to get my time. It's going to get my attention. But these other stories are not. And the power of that is tremendous, right? And I think, a lot of people just look at Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, look at Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, Dungeon Masters, and go, oh, it's important and it's easy. Maybe if the stories you're telling, right, that's the other issue is what is the scope of your game, right? And I'll tell you right now, I know from my comments, people get frustrated with my content. If you intend the impact of your game to end at your table, I have nothing to teach you. Nothing. Okay? There's no reason for you to stay here and listen to another word. Okay? If you want to make a good game for your table and you never want the impact of your Dungeons & Dragons campaign to go beyond your table, there's nothing here for you, right? Move on. There's people who will make sure that your game stays at the impact of your table and no further, right? I am specifically talking to people who believe that Dungeons & Dragons reach extends beyond the table, right? And so if you tell those kind of stories, if you believe that you can help the world by running Dungeons & Dragons, then you need to understand that the importance of your story choices are incredibly important, right? I'm very disappointed with Sandra Bullock, right? She's lots of great films that she could have made. She chose to make this, and she displaced other films when she made this, right? Because she can't guarantee that she'll ever put out another film ever, right? Because none of us are guaranteed another day, right? So when we choose one path, we make it so that the other path may never happen, right? And I'm very disappointed that this story was told and others weren't, right? And you have to understand, when you decide what you run next, the importance of it is massive, right? Now, if you're like, oh, I want to run a fun game for my I want to make sure everybody at my table has fun, right? I don't want to change the people who are sitting there to be better people. I don't want to have an impact that reaches beyond my table. Then none of this matters for you, right? But if you really believe that you can do something huge with Dungeons and Dragons, that you can make the world a better place with Dungeons and Dragons, be very careful what you choose to run. The ramifications of it are massive. And if you look at the Unforgivable film, you will see exactly what I'm saying. Sandra Bullock very carefully chose this story to be made, right? And displaced a lot of other stories, which I think would be a lot better. So learn the lesson from Unforgivable. Well, that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.